Hey guys, and welcome to the first ever, the world's first Daily Deco Q&A. That is right, I'm your host today. I did the intro. Otherwise, this video would be a very much... Well, basically, if I didn't do something, there'd be no point in me being in this video because it's just Mark talking. So anyway, today's episode is, of course, sponsored by our very own Teespring store. We've got a lovely, juicy offer for you, but we'll talk more about that later in the show. Anyway, Mark, you are looking rather dashing today.
Yeah, I'm happy to see that you dressed up for the world's first inaugural Simply Scuba Q&A definitely. Podcast.
The greatest scuba diving movie ever and marine conservation movie ever that I have just noticed has holes in it. So I think I wear this t-shirt a bit too much.
Yeah, and you brushed your hair at least.
Well, you know, this is my lockdown 2.0 hair. Anyway, but you're good. I can't believe you took the joke about wearing your waistcoat in the previous Daily Deco and you took it. Isn't that your wedding suit?
It could be, if we can't go out for lockdown.
Oh, don't say that. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. Anyway, Mark, shall we get straight to it? Obviously, there's no news today. It is pure Q&A. So I have 8 questions. All taken, majority are from YouTube, and there's a couple from our other social media platforms. But are you ready to answer these questions?
Yes.
Excellent. Cool. So the first one is from Walid. I want to say Walid.
Yeah.
Walid. I'm not going to pronounce his surname. Anyway, he left this question on AI rules the waves. So he says, how much experience would you recommend for each of the progressive courses, obviously in scuba diving, in terms of number of dives? I think the minimum requirement for a rescue diver is just the advanced course. So you could technically only do 6 log dives or so. And actually, I don't think this is not enough. What are your thoughts about experiencing how many logs, dive logs and all that sort of thing moving forward?
Rescue, I'd have to check the PADI instructor manual, but I think rescue has a minimum of 20 dives to start it, but whatever. So obviously for your introductory course, like PADI's open water, obviously different sort of courses are available. No dives are required, but then you can do your advanced open water immediately afterwards, and then you can effectively be advanced open water diver at 9 dives, which doesn't really make you an advanced diver. It just means that you've advanced through, and then sort of rescue. Dive master is I think 60 dives, and instructor I think is just 100. So it would be better to kind of change them, but then it makes it a little bit harder to sort of keep people. It's one of those tricky ones that the reasons why those sort of minimum dive requirements are set where they are is I imagine quite a lot of thought went into it, it's that age-old question. It's tough. Would I sort of make them sort of much higher, make sort of rescue diver up to like 50, and then sort of instructor up to 1,000 or something? It would be like... Okay, so let's say that we did that, then yes, it would mean that we would have sort of fewer instructors and especially fewer sort of novice instructors, the kind of the 0 to hero that we sort of call it. And that would mean that we would have better instructors in the water, but it would also mean that we have fewer of them. Is that necessarily better? I don't really know. It's very much... We need to keep people in the kind of the training sort of mindset as much as we can, so that we get more experienced divers, instead of just getting sort of brand new divers and they're just diving for the sake of getting their count up. We need divers sort of experiencing proper dives, and then when they get to a certain point they go, oh, you know what, let's do let's do my rescue, because it's when I was teaching, it was never much a matter of okay, let me check your logbook. Okay, you have exactly 20 dives. Right, now you can start the course. That was quite a rare occurrence. I think that's more of a just a I can't can't even think of the word, but just a basic requirement. I don't think it's ever been a that real kind of zero to hero kind of problem. So I don't think we need to change them. I don't think it would be necessarily bad if we did, but no, I'm not offended by the current guidelines, shall we say. Hopefully that was eloquent. Yeah, I went in quite a few different directions there.
It's beautiful. You explained it a lot more clearer than I ever would. So it's cool, man. Right. I hope that answers your question, or at least give you some sort of insight on the thought process of everything. Anyways, yeah, it's a tricky one. Anyway, Gavin Williams, this comment is from the Are Scuba Brands in Trouble Daily Deco. He says, a random thought. Based on the I can't even say that word, economics of Scuba Pro you discussed, do you think diversification, but I can say that word, of the diving industry by perhaps establishing brands with a diverse range of leisure/outdoors activities, including dive shops, with the same group might be a way of reducing costs, improving margins, spread an economic risk, and bolster the resilience of the diving industry and diving shops?
Yeah, I mean, so what he's basically saying is, instead of just having dive centres that just do 100% scuba diving, should they also do something else? And quite a few dive centres do this. You see quite a lot of sort of air rifles and things in some dive centres, because they're dealing with compressed gas, and of course the air rifle shooters, they use compressed gas, so they need to fill up their cylinders. So you do see that kind of diversification. You also see it into other water sports. There's kind of a big push into stand-up paddleboard, because that's quite a sort of popular up-and-coming thing nowadays. So dive centres are kind of turning, and it's that catch-22. You either do it like wholeheartedly, where you are just a multi-sports centre, and then you kind of lose that scuba dive centre kind of soul, or you focus 100% on just diving, and then just kind of risk, when times are bad, they're bad, but you're kind of relying on the kind of the good, like the summer months or something. And yeah, I mean, I've always been a fan of sort of diversification, because it's kind of covers all bases. So yeah, even if you do have a slow, quiet period, at least in the scuba side of things, at least the another side of the business might be sort of doing well. So I mean, I'm not a huge economic guru or anything, but yeah, it is a hard decision, and I think that's what a lot of dive centres are looking at right now, whether they can diversify, because a lot of the brands that we buy from, they also sell other things that we don't usually buy in as scuba diving centres. They are available to us, but we just figure that the clientele wouldn't be interested in it. It is a hard question, and I think that's what the industry really seriously needs to sort of look at. Maybe we do need to diversify, but try and keep our that kind of soul of a dive centre, because you don't want a bunch of snowboards and mountain bikes or anything hanging up in a dive centre getting in the way.
No, you would. That would be the best thing ever. That's what you need. Yeah, that's a tricky one. Yeah, because again, like you say, it depends on how much. You don't want to lose that soul. You don't want to lose that thing. You know what I mean? And people go to a dive centre to go diving. They don't want to go there, and then next minute they surface and they get smacked in the head with a stand-up paddleboard.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people, they like to buy scuba diving equipment from dive centres instead of places like Amazon, where it's just like a jumble sale, because they don't really know what they're selling. It's just it's just a barcode for them. So yeah, it's quite nice if you have that kind of the specialist, and that's all they deal in, so that if you go there, you're going to get exactly what you need, and get a sort of good service. So yeah, it's tough. So but when the industry is kind of dipping, you just kind of have to bite the bullet, and hope that there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's tough, but it's economics.
I think the key, I know obviously this is your Q&A, but I think the key with that, if you go down a multi-sport, is that you have people that aren't spread doing 3 or 4 sports. So like you just have a chap or a chapette for scuba diving, and their passion is scuba.
Yep.
And then you have someone for stand-up paddleboarding. Like you don't try and spread them too thin, and then that's when the seriousness comes into play. Anyway, hope that answers your question.
Yes.
If you guys have any more ideas about that question, as I say, let us know in the comments. Let's have a discussion. So the next question is from a gal. He commented on the Omer Cayman ET Roller spear gun review. He wants to buy a spear gun, but he's not too sure on either Omar or Salvamar. Is that how that's
Salvamar.
pronounced? Can anyone help help him with that, basically? So I thought I'd throw that out to you, Marky Mark.
Yeah, they're both Italian brands. It's like choosing a brand of a car. They both do the same thing, just in ever so slightly different ways. I can't specifically say, oh well, no, Omer is sort of much better or much worse. I can't really comment. And I don't know. I imagine if you ask around in Italy, you'll get a much more thorough answer because they love their sort of spearfishing. But I think either or, you'll do fine. They're both pretty good brands from what I've seen. So so pick your poison.
Cool. Yeah, everyone has their own brands, don't they? At the end of the day, and what if there's any key difference features? Yeah, so just do your research.
Yeah.
So next one is from Javier, and he comments on the Let's Talk About Cylinders, which is doing ridiculously well, considering it took me about a year to edit that thing.
I know. And I saw one person that's like, "Oh, surely you didn't film this all in one sitting." I was like, "Yeah."
Yes, he did. And then Mark did it, bless him. So Mark scripted it. Obviously, we had to film it all in one sitting. I then had to edit it, cut it up, then watch that, then export it, then watch the export, just to make sure that everything. I hate cylinders as much as I hate bolt snaps now. I'm joking, I don't hate bolt snaps. Anyway, back to Javier's question on that. Let's talk about cylinders. Hey Mark, thanks for the video. Why did you say that aluminium cylinders are better for stages/side mounts? For me, it's quite annoying bringing more weight to compensate for their buoyancy variation. I understand that in warm, salty waters, as they use aluminium cylinder, they use aluminium cylinders to avoid corrosion. I don't know why I found that really aluminum. I'm just going to say that. But in the rest of the cases, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Could you please elaborate more on this topic in the next Q&A, which is this one? So why did you say aluminium tanks, Mark? Why?
Yeah, so with alley tanks, they're more inherently neutrally buoyant when they're full, which just makes them easier to sort of manage in the water. Whereas with a steel tank, as soon as you sort of move it away from your body, it's this like huge heavy weight. No matter whether it's full or empty, it's always going to make you sink. So I did some side mount drills with a pair of steel tanks, and as soon as you sort of swing that around in front of you, your trim just woof, you go sort of head down because you've got a lot of this weight suddenly in front of you, and now your trim is like way to the front. So whereas with an alley tank, because they're not that sort of negatively buoyant in the water, it's much easier to sort of maneuver them and move them around. I just prefer sort of alley tanks as sort of side mounted. And if the weight is an issue, then you've got the weight of the steel tank that you've got to manage anyway. So that's not so much an issue. And alley tanks still corrode. They don't rust, but they will corrode. But yeah, I think that touched on everything.
There you go. I hope that answers your question. Well done, Mark, for answering it. Alley tanks all the way. Anyway, today's episode is sponsored, or should I say today's episode of Daily Deco is brought to you by our very own Teespring store. Once you're out of the water, it can be hard sometimes to spot a fellow scuba diver. But no more. Our very own Teespring store stocks scuba diving tees, socks, hoodies, phone cases, stickers, and even face masks now. We got cushions, posters, basically anything we could kind of stick our logo on. We've pretty much got it on there, haven't we, Mark? So that's pretty cool. So yeah, go over there and fill up your cart. And once you've filled up your cart, once you're at checkout, you can now get 15% off of your total order. All you have to do is add the promo code Daily Deco, that's one word, Daily Deco at checkout in the little promo bit that they have at the bottom there. And as I say, you'll get 15% off. That is 15% off when you use the code Daily Deco, and that is off of your total order. So yeah, go over there, use that code, save yourself 15% off of our all our merch, and then yeah, you're gonna look like a diver. You're gonna stand out of the crowd, unless the entire crowd has bought something from our Teespring store, and then you're just gonna fit straight in. So either or, it's a win. You're gonna either stand out, or you're gonna look cool like all the other cool cats on the back. But yeah, so that's save 15% off using the code Daily Deco. You can find the link to our Teespring store. It's either popped up on our screen or it's going to be pinned down in the comments. Anyway, let's continue with the Q&A, because that is obviously what today's video is all about. So this next question 5, is from, I'm not going to pronounce it, Popolopodopoulos. I'm going to call you Pob, good old Pob. He left a comment on the Iceberg straight ahead Daily Deco, and he goes, 2 out of the 5 dry suits at simplyscuba.com right now are front entry. Are you seeing this as a growing trend? Is the future of dry suits front entry, or rather still sustainable pros for having, you know, a zip at the rear?
I mean, I think the main reason why we've transitioned from primarily back entry to primarily front entry at the moment is in basically zip technology. So the dry zip that we used to have sort of last generation, it was that brass zip, the one from NASA. So it was very strong, very rigid, and yeah, it didn't bend very well. So having that as a front entry was a little bit awkward and quite sort of tough. So putting it across the back of your shoulder was basically the best way and the best place to fit that dry suit zip. But now that we've come with these plastic zippers from T-Zip and YKK and whatnot, they have opened up the front entry dry suit markets, and they're much more practical, both for scuba divers and for dive centers as well, because in a front entry suit you can get in and out of it all by yourself, which makes it much easier. If you're desperate for the loo, you don't need someone else to sort of get you in, and you're less reliant on someone kind of zipping up your dry suit at the beginning and the end of the dive. With front entry you can just do it yourself. And I mean, as far as benefits of a back entry suit over a front entry, I can't think of that many benefits. But with a front entry, by the way that they designed them, a lot of them are telescopic, which means that the torso is extendable, just so that you can sort of get into it that much easier. But as far as selling suits and getting into the suit yourself, it just means that it's much more customizable. Whereas a back entry dry suit, if you're a little bit too tall, yeah, you have to go up a size, which means that your chest and your sort of stomach area gets sort of much bigger. So for sort of tall, thin people, it's quite hard to get a dry suit that fits them properly. But with a front entry, because they're telescopic, it is much easier. So yeah, I do see a sort of progression onto front entry dry suits as just a kind of natural thing with the progression of zip technology. So yeah, I think that's why a majority of the dry suits that you see on the website are front entry. I don't think we'll ever get rid of back entry completely, because they still do the job and people do like them. But yeah, a lot of the industry is shifting more towards sort of front entry now.
Cool. There we go. Telescopic, that's what I got from that. Next question is from Ray on the, again, let's talk about cylinders. That's a rather popular video. And he goes, what is too fast when tank filling? How long should it take to fill a 15-litre tank that's half full already? WP232.
Oh, is it half full or half empty? Depends on your
half full,
outlook on
always
life.
Half full.
So for those of you who don't know, if you fill up a scuba cylinder, it gets hot, and then by the time that it cools down, the actual internal pressure drops. So if someone sort of fills up your cylinder really, really quickly and then just hands it to you, you're going to get a really duff fill. So to get a proper fill, you should do it as slowly as possible. Filling up half a 15-litre tank, I don't know, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It's basically, you can literally feel it. If you sort of touch your cylinder, the body of the cylinder, and if it feels warm or hot, then just sort of wait for that to sort of cool down. I've seen some dive centres, they do it in like a tank of water, which helps sort of keep the tank cool whilst they're filling it. But yeah, as long as possible, really. Some dive centres, they'll overfill it so that it gets hot, and then by the time it cools down, it actually cools down to the like 232. But yeah, give it at least like 15 minutes. Half a tank won't take that long to fill up, but yeah, the longer you can give it, the better.
Well, I remember, previous when I used to work in the shop, the old scuba shop. Yeah, literally, like you get customers as well. They'll be like, "No, I'm going to come back in 3 hours, and that's when I want you to detach the thing." And like literally, you just do it, and it's like a slow creak of air just coming in, just so then you get the fill. Very
That's
interesting.
Exactly what you want. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So the next question is from Christian. So he contacted us directly on Facebook. It's a bit controversial, the first sentence that he says, or the second one. He goes, "Hi Mark, greetings from Norway." That wasn't the controversial part. I just love your channel.
Well,
Thanks,
my channel
mate.
in particular.
Your channel. And I just discovered the podcast. You're welcome. Christian, that's me. It's all me. No, it's us. Anyway, I was wondering if you could make another video about twin sets, some tips and tricks about lead placement and trim. I'm getting into my first twin set dive when my equipment is back from service. I've never dived with twins before, so I want to be as prepared as I can be when going out, and obviously keep up the good work.
Yeah, we can definitely do a video on that. Waiting on twins. You have lots of options, and it all depends on your trim. So you kind of have to get in the water first and then kind of work it out. You get sort of P weights and V weights that go sort of between your back plates or sort of between your cylinders. You can always mount sort of a couple sort of blocks of lead onto the sort of tail end, the bottom of your tanks. If you're sort of tail light, there's lots of options for sort of trim weighting your twin set. So yeah, we can do a video on that. It is tricky, and there's a lot to it. Sort of based on sort of where your bands are mounted and how they mount onto your back plates, and sort of where your center of buoyancy is. So yeah, we can take a closer look at that.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, well, I can't wait to edit that.
Edit that.
So much fun. Oh, this weight here goes here, and this way. Anyway, we have one more question. I hope that answers your question. That yes, we're going to make videos on that. Anyway, the last question is from Instagram Direct, and it's I think this is his official real name, by the way. Ghost Shadow 36.
Oh, okay.
I reckon that's what his mum gave him or her.
That's what he's christened.
Yeah, that's if he is christened. I don't know what the other thingies are for other religions. Anyway, moving swiftly on. I don't know why, but he apologizes for asking this. You don't need to apologize. It's absolutely fine. But does your company or any other divers at your company know anything about the North American Diver Free certification program? I just want to check to see if it's legit before trying it out and spreading any information about it. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah. So we actually looked into this beforehand because I hadn't heard of that one specifically. This is a dive center in America, and I've seen plenty of like sort of training schemes sort of around the world where if you sort of do this, it kind of offsets the cost of your sort of training. And this particular scheme is basically if you sort of sign up for your sort of open water course, and you basically get your open water course for free, as long as you buy a full set of sort of scuba equipment from this dive center. So basically you turn up, you sign up for the course, you buy like mask, fin, snorkel, as well as BCD regulators, and I think an exposure suit and maybe a dive computer. If you buy that all from them, they'll basically train you, they'll give you your open water course for free. They'll also give you sort of discounts on sort of your nitrox course, I believe your advanced, and maybe some others. So it's from the dive center's perspective, it's good for them because it means that you're buying all of your dive equipment from them. You're more likely to come back to them for any kind of maintenance, for servicing, or sort of any new gear, and they're training you as well, so they're getting new scuba divers in their area, and of course you're more likely to come back for continuing education as well. So it's kind of a win-win for them. All they lose out is the sort of the course costs. But they're kind of getting that back in their margin, the kind of the money that making sort of selling you the dive equipment. The way that you're benefiting is that you don't have to pay those course costs, and you have dive equipment that you're probably going to buy anyway. The only rare sort of the only area that I could see where it's a bad thing for you, the student, is if they're ridiculously expensive compared to their competitors. So if you're buying all of this dive equipment, but you could buy it substantially cheaper elsewhere, then it might be worth just sort of paying for the course and then sort of shopping around. But if they're competitively priced, then it's kind of a win-win for both of you. So I don't think I can't see it's a scam or anything, because it's also posted on their website. It's something, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. Just do a little bit of research and also have a good chat with them about the dive equipment that you're investing in, because you don't want to buy sort of stuff that isn't really suitable for you because you haven't learnt to dive yet. So have a good sort of sit down with them, do a bit of soul searching, kind of thinking about what kind of diver you want to become, and make sure that you're picking out the right dive equipment, and become a fully fledged scuba diver. I don't see any big problems with it.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Cool. The only negative I can see on this, I mean, it's awesome. Like you obviously, if you're going to learn to dive, you've probably done a try dive and you're dedicated for it. But you buy all the gear, you have your try dives, or you do your certification, and then you don't want to do it anymore. You don't like it, so then you're stuck with all this gear. And I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of. You're stuck with all this gear that you don't want because you're not going to use it.
Yeah, but I mean, you're just starting out. So if you're willing to invest in all of that dive equipment, then chances are, you really do enjoy your scuba diving. So you're going to be taking it seriously. Obviously that is a risk. If you think you're going to sort of get into snowballing or I don't know, paintballing, whatever, and you buy all the equipment and then you realize actually this isn't that much fun, then more for you. If you're seriously keen on sort of becoming a scuba diver and scuba diving regularly, I wouldn't worry about this scheme too much.
Cool. There we go then. Awesome. And that's it. All the questions for the first ever Daily Deco Q&A are done. It's going to have the world's most catchiest title of Q&A, #1. That's the title of the video. Anyway, guys, so I hope you've enjoyed watching it. If you have any responses to what Mark said, any updates, anything like that, or any disputes, so you can have a nice conversation in the comments below. As I say, let us know down below. And if you have any more questions, or if you want to ask Mark something, obviously you can put them in the comments below or across any other social media. So any Facebook, Instagram, message us directly like the last 2 questions, or any YouTube video. It doesn't matter. We don't specifically go through the videos. Obviously, if you know YouTube, there's a comments tab, so we'll find it amongst all our comments in there. So yeah, just drop a comment on one of the videos, and then yeah, hopefully we can answer it directly if it's really important. But if we need to elaborate more, then yeah, then we'll just, or if we think the question itself is good for everyone to know the answer to, then yeah, then we'll put it in the Q&A. Yeah, hope you've enjoyed the first Q&A. Have you enjoyed it, Mark? Is it nice to have a bit of more of a Q&A episode rather than it being tacked on at the end of another episode?
Yeah. I used to do something like this a while back, and it's quite nice to be able to just elaborate on questions and spend a bit of time on it. Because where you'd normally have a conversation with someone at the dive centre, it's a little bit different now. But yeah, it's nice to just answer some questions. Yeah,
because you did it on safe diving for a bit, and we used to do it now and again on the Q&As in Scuba in the previous rendition. But the only problem we had with that was time. We just never really had the time to do it, did we?
Yeah.
We were all busy doing other projects. But now we've got more time to do it, which is awesome. Yeah. Cool. That's it. All right. Well, we'll end the show there. I'm going to say thanks for watching and stay classy, scuba divers. And Mark's going to say...
Thanks for watching and safe diving.
Oh, lovely.